On today's Hot Sheet, I'm discussing mortgage debt as a percentage of GDP, how long it takes to save for down payments today, and the Cotality Home Price Insights Report for November. Today is Tuesday, January 6, 2026. I am Byron Lazine, and the Hot Sheet starts now. Okay, live from Naples, Florida. Pleasure to be with you wherever you may be. This is the only show that goes live every single day, Monday through Friday, with a 24-hour look back on the housing market and the greater economy for real estate professionals. I mean, yesterday, if you were ever wondering, I say live every start of the show here. If you ever wonder, hey, is this show really live? I mean, he just got off the BAMX Role Play Mastermind, which we do every single Tuesday at 9 a.m. Get into school if you're serious about converting. We're doing the role plays every single Tuesday, and we do that right before the Hot Sheet. But you might be wondering, like, he goes right from the role play to that. I mean, is it really live or is it recording? Well, if you watched yesterday, you know it's really live, and I have my full glass of water here to make sure that I do not choke on my own throat here today. I'm gonna get like I think I'm gonna get a humidifier in here or something. When it gets dry air, I hate people like, you like the humidity in Florida. I love the humidity. I don't like this dry air season that we have right now. Weather's beautiful, but anyways, I will survive here today, and it's a pleasure to be with you here once again. All right. Pleasure or it was nice to see a bunch of you guys in the Role Play Mastermind, and awesome to see you guys jumping over here. All right, let's jump in. We've got a mortgage debt as a percentage of GDP topic here. Really interesting stuff. Wanted to make sure that we spent some time on this. So Calculated Risk, they get a Substack. They put out this report. And household mortgage debt, it went up about $800 billion in a single year during this last bubble. Okay, so that's almost equal to 7% of GDP. Okay, so today's debt levels through 2025. We're going to break this down. Okay, so I'm going to go right to our Hot Sheet show notes. You can find these in BAMX. So, I think this conversation is important because there is going to be some moron in the next 90 days that says mortgage debt has skyrocketed, $800 billion. The world is going to fall apart. You're going to see licensed real estate professionals trying to tickle their IG ego and get themselves hearts by saying 2008 is coming quickly. Duck, hurry up and duck. When we know out of the last 83 years, there's only been 4 years, 2007, 2011, where nominal home prices went down 1% or more. We know it takes a global economic meltdown for nominal home prices to really move significantly on a national trend in a downward direction. Like 4 out of 83. And it was a mortgage crisis. It was the great financial crisis. So, but here's the thing. If I were to get on IG or TikTok every single day and say, we've never seen anything like this economically in the history of our country. 2008's coming around the corner. Home prices are about to crash. I would build an enormous following over that, because everybody who's always rooting or wishing for things to be torn down, they engage with that. The doomers engage with that. Okay, but we need to repel against it. When we sit down with a customer, client, buyer, seller, investor, and they say, well, there's $800 billion in debt right now, or that's gone up right now on mortgages. Like, don't you think everything's going to fall apart? I'm hearing things are just going to, completely melt down At that point, we need to be able to, obviously give them some kind of information that's going to be, that's going to reflect more of the reality. Okay. So let's go from February 2005 to 21 years ago, because this is, this is true. This is what they're going to see. The following chart shows that the household mortgage debt as a percent of GDP. So mortgage debt has been increasing for years. The last 4 years have seen a tremendous increase in that debt as a percent of GDP. So last year alone, mortgage debt increased close to 800 billion, which is almost 7% of GDP. So, when we talk about affordability, for example, well, affordability, the quickest impact is a lower rate and higher wage growth. Okay. So wage growth is increasing. We've gone over that. I know a lot of people don't want to believe it, but wage growth is increasing. And then the rate is down. We're down a full percent from essentially where we were this time last year, if we go, on a rolling 12 months. So affordability is improving. It's not fast. You're not putting it in the microwave. You got to start the gas top stove to get there and kind of wait a little bit longer, but it is improving. Now, if GDP were to improve, which is, one of the things that I think all Americans should be, supportive of, GDP growth. If GDP improves, then this percentage naturally gets smaller. Okay. So you could say, well, okay, we need less mortgage debt, or we could say we need more GDP growth. Okay. So a lot of homeowners have refinanced their homes, using their homes. You've seen more homeowners, I wouldn't say a lot, but you've seen more homeowners refinance in the last 12 months than the previous 12 months. When the year over year numbers on that were astronomical. Okay. And so here's the mortgage debt as a percentage of GDP through quarter 2, 25. So now this, when we kind of take into context the years of 2005, 6, 7, 8 versus today, household mortgage debt as a percent of GDP is actually at a much lower percentage. Okay. The bubble time period becomes very obvious on this graph. Okay. The bubble was in the past. We're back almost to nearly pre-pandemic, we're under pre-pandemic levels. This little blip right here is COVID, and we're under where we were pre-COVID. Okay, so the 2008 time period was the bubble. The bubble is not now. Okay, now there are markets that may feel a little bubblicious, but when we're talking about the macro and the macro headline that our customers are seeing, they see that headline. They see $800 billion mortgage debt last 12 months. They see one TikTok in their feed that references that $800 billion headline from the last 12 months. And they're like, oh boy, debt is way out of control. We're in a debt bubble. When it's quite the opposite. The debt bubble was behind us. Okay. We took a quick look at this yesterday. Here's another way to look at it. Okay. Mortgage originations by credit score. Okay. Very different than where we were back in 2007, 8, 5, 6, when that time period took place. The majority of buyers are 760 and plus on mortgage credit. And in fact, that's been the case over the last almost 15 years, really since 2012. Okay. So, all right. So that's one of the frameworks there to really work through this $800 billion number that you might see at some point in this quarter. Household mortgage debt increasing nearly 800 billion. And so there you go. All right. Moving down to down payment. This is another conversation, obviously, that's really important for home buyers today. It deals with the affordability issues that we're facing. And Realtor.com did some key research on this. Okay, so 2025 for the year we just closed out, it takes the typical U.S. household 7 years to save for a typical down payment. Now, Realtor.com talked about it a little bit yesterday. They're on the forefront of the affordability conversation. The best thing that we can do as real estate professionals to impact that is, not get involved. Local politics are not, partisan, for the most part. I guess some towns or cities could be, but your town, city, county, they're trying to solve, local problems, and being involved in those is the gateway to having a real true impact on affordability if it's something that you care about and want to impact in 2026, getting your hands involved in the conversation, whether it be zoning, the not in my backyard conversations that are happening in almost every town in America, all those different conversations and boards, even that your involvement in that is one of the recommendations, obviously, from Realtor.com. And I would second that recommendation on how to impact affordability. So they're on the forefront of this affordability conversation. They've now done the research and they've identified 7 years to save for a typical down payment. Okay. And there's a dramatic improvement, though, from the recent peak. And this is important for people to understand. This wraps into the affordability is improving. Yeah, the affordability improvements, are sitting in the oven or on the gas, or on the stove top, not in the microwave. I know everybody wants the microwave fix, but they are improving. The recent peak of how long it would take to save for a down payment was actually 12 years. Okay, so we're down from recent peak of 12 years to now 7 years to save for a down payment. I just saw Brian Buffini put on his IG recently. Haley, I don't know if you want to find this clip. I think it would actually be, I'm sorry I didn't send it to you earlier. I didn't even think about it till now. But Brian Buffini put on IG, obviously, been around a long time in our industry. He put on IG that the thought that, well, if you're going to buy a home, there should be sacrifice. Now, he made the statement, well, young people don't want to give up a lot of lifestyle, meaning trips or experiences. I certainly wouldn't classify that for all of Gen Z or all of younger millennials at all. I think there is that category probably of all people that want to just kind of spend and will not give up on experience in order to kind of, have the reward into the future. And he said, buying your first home, you should have some sacrifice involved, and there's going to be pain in that. And there's going to be, kind of resisting instant gratification and, extending that reward out into the future. And I do think there's an element of that that is a relevant conversation with a buyer. If you're giving it to a home buyer real from the start and not talking about dream homes because they don't exist, there is a right home conversation, I think, that's relevant. But dream home and gumdrops and lollipops and just being excited to go out and look at homes and not having the real conversation is misguiding and misleading. And then kind of agents wonder why there's a ghost factor there. Well, after a couple of weeks, data collection on their own of just being out there with you, they got the feedback loop that this isn't even possible. And we want to place people for our time and their time in the right lane of where they should be. And sometimes that lane is clearly, building up the funds to make this for the home that they want or the lifestyle that they want, a real option. And, that might just take a little bit longer. Now, 7 years is quite a long time. I get it. That's a lot of pain. There are ways to reduce that. Buffini actually talked about this in this clip where it's like, hey, there's a lot of buyers, and we're probably seeing a lot of buyers do this right now, asking a friend, family member for a gift in. Now, not everybody, that I know that sounds insane. Well, not everybody can get a gift.
Is this it?
Go to this. I think this is interesting. Yeah.
To say to people our age who are struggling and working super hard.
It is very difficult, and it is not very affordable to buy a house right now. The one thing that is going on is people your age tend not to compromise on their lifestyle. A lot of debt. Oh no, I'm going to the concert. I'm going to take the trip. The desire for a house has to be such a big deal to someone that they're willing to suffer a little bit for it. That's the word passion, is paseo, what you're willing to suffer for. The good news is that salaries are increasing at a higher rate than housing is. The next thing is rates are going to come down, so it's going to become more affordable all the time. Very typical right now.
Not
over
all the
half
time,
of
but
millennials, for example,
over
and
time, I
younger
think I'd
millennials
say.
are having to get help with the down payment. Talk to
Okay.
those that
So, and he's talking about talking to people that you're connected to ask for a gift. So do not say that it's going to become affordable all the time. I think, Brian Buffini misspoke there. I think he meant to say overtime. And that's kind of what I'm saying here. There's a long run, more of an oven approach, not a microwave approach to affordability improving. It has shown up in the data the last 12 months. Danielle Hale, chief economist, realtor.com, said as much. All chief economists are saying as much. Like, it is happening. Wage growth is rising. Rates are down year over year, but it's going to take a bit longer here to really feel like that's the case for more people. You need another, multiple years even of wage growth stacking on top of each other, and rates certainly moving in that other direction. So these savings, if we're being real, and what I like about that clip is like, hey, acknowledge the pain, the suffering, the sacrifice. I think pain and suffering are probably negative terms that might push somebody away, but acknowledge the sacrifice up front of what it's going to take to be in position to be a homeowner. And only 65% of people put themselves in position to be a homeowner, so it's a privilege there in and of itself. And to be in that position, there will be some sacrifice. I think that conversation is really smart for agents to be having with their customers. The truth up front, we were talking about this on the Role Play Mastermind BMX just a half hour ago, where like, hey, acknowledge we were talking about a failure situation. Acknowledge the failure right up front, builds more trust, builds more rapport. And so U.S. personal savings rate remains below the historic norm. Here's one of the reasons, right? If we look, this was a higher number pre-pandemic, so 6.5% versus 4.7%. So people just have less money available to go into savings. This number, when there was a scarcity factor and then a lot of money being pumped into the system, these numbers went through the roof. Okay. So scarcity factor, meaning, COVID kicks off, nobody knows what to do. People, and couldn't leave the house, obviously. Easy to save when you can't do anything. Those savings kicked off. And then you see another spike. Well, that's when all that liquidity got pumped into the market. And we're paying for that liquidity now, obviously. Okay. This drop here is obviously the start of Jerome Powell realizing inflation is not transitory. Oh my goodness. Can you believe it? We printed all this money. Inflation isn't transitory. It's going to be here for a while. And these savings rates drop as people are dealing with the inflation and the ratcheting up, the fast, rapid increase of interest rate increases from the Fed. And now they've stabilized out at this 4.7%, which is still, almost 2% below pre-pandemic levels. Okay. So this is one of the reasons why it's taking even longer to save for a down payment. So down payments have also gone up over the last several years as prices have gone up. Okay. There's also greater competition. I know that competition is loosening up right now in a lot of markets, but when we look at the last 3-4 years, competition was higher than a lot of other times in history. And when you have greater competition from other buyers want to be perceived as a stronger buyer. They put more money down in those scenarios. So in Q3 of 2019, the typical buyer paid roughly just under $14,000 rather as a down payment. 6 years later, typical down payment amount has more than doubled to $30,400. We can say that about a lot of things that we have in our lives here today, that they've more than doubled. Dollar values gone down as we've printed all of that money. So down payments stay relatively steady in Q3 from where we've been here over the past year. We've been hovering around this 14.4% number as well here over the last couple of years. That number pre-pandemic was down below 12%. So tick up on both of those numbers. It takes 7 years right now to save for this down payment. And if you look at where we were after the GFC, I mean, this number bounced between, 2, probably 3, 4 years on average. And then obviously was vastly different. The recent peak being extremely abnormal to where we are here today at about 7 years. And I think if it was back to 3 or 4 years, and it's going to just going to probably take some time to get there, but we're trending in the right direction. I mean, inflation overall shows the same trend line. If you zoom out on that, which we do over the last 3 years, where, okay, it's moving down, but it's taking time because we put ourselves in this situation. And so same thing, this will trend down over time. It will become more affordable. It'll get closer to, maybe a 4-year mark, maybe not necessarily a 2-year mark, not without a real drop in rates, but it will, as wage growth stacks and as time moves on and rates kind of loosen up, this will get better. So, what's the average? Here's the average. It's 7 years. Here's where it's down. It's down from the peak of 12. Affordability is improving. How can you, as a buyer, speed up the process? One, you can get a gift. Obviously, if you're a dual income and you're both going to be on it, you can work it out that way. Or you can increase your wage growth. And so, those are really the 3 tips, but at least giving people the real path, the real conversation up front is going to build more trust and transparency in what you do and what you provide. Okay, Cotality has provided us with some year-over-year price growth numbers through November of 25. In about a month, we'll get their numbers for there's a good one, Kim. Cancel stuff. And that's kind of what Buffini's talking about there in that clip where he's like, you could give up stuff now. I mean, listen, any business right now should be able to cut close to 10% of their expenses. Like if you look at your P&L, you should be able to find upwards of 10% of stuff that you could cut and wouldn't impact your business. Getting up over that number is going to be pretty difficult. Because you have expenses that you need to operate the level of business that you're operating on. Household incomes could probably go a lot deeper if they're being real with themselves and what it takes to just live than the 10%. Okay? I don't need, YouTube TV, Netflix, Disney, whatever the heck else we have. I'd have to ask what else we have. I don't need them all. I mean, football season is about to be over. I'm not even going to need YouTube TV until football season comes back around. It's the only thing I even use it for. That and a little bit of CNBC Squawk Box in the morning. But, if I was making a sacrifice for something, I could find a lot of cuts in the way that we live. I think a lot of family households could. Not everybody is living just within survival mode. And that's a little bit about what Buffini's talking about. Okay, let's get into the national home price growth of where we're at with Cotality's data. Month over month here in November, coming in at negative 0.1%. And the projection was actually that was going to move up. So misses projection from Cotality. And so year over year home price growth comes in at plus 1%. The forecast here for the month is flat. So when we get December's numbers, November to December would be 0%. And the forecast for the year, this is more on the bullish side, I'd say, of home price forecast coming from Cotality, 4.3% increase on national home prices. Here's Cotality's affordability meter, $425,000 median home price right now. Requires a near $95,000 income to afford the median priced home today, based off of where we're at and based on those median prices, and only going to get more expensive according to their data over the next 12 months with a 4.3% increase. And so here are the top 10 hottest housing markets as of today, according to their data. It's all the Midwest. You've got one outlier in the West in Washington, and that's in Yakima. I'd like to go to Yakima. And then you got one in New York, Glen Falls. Everything else is Midwest location for the top 10 hottest markets that are, according to Cotality, expected to, or are seeing this type of near double-digit growth. The 10 coolest markets are filled up in Florida on the Gulf Coast. And then you've got a little bit of a sprinkling there in, one in Georgia, a couple in Texas, and one in Illinois. But you've got Florida dominating the list on coolest markets. So it's a supply and demand factor. There's obviously way more supply in these markets in Florida than there is at current demand levels, pushing prices down. Okay. If we look at the least affordable markets, California fills up the list. Top 5 markets for least affordable today are in California. The most affordable are kind of those rural, Midwest, areas of the country, but definitely some rural markets there. Here's some markets to put on your watch list for concerns from Cotality. It remains Florida. High risk of price declines, Cape Coral, Lakeland, Northport, Palm Bay, and West Palm. So the watch list continues to be Florida. Texas, you're looking good right now in comparison. And there you go. There's a Cotality report here for the month. We'll get the true year over year look, I guess, next month. Let's take a look at where we're at today on 10-year Treasury to start the day. We're coming in at 4.167. This is slightly off of the highs from yesterday, but near highs for the last 5 days, and near high level for the last 30 and near high level for the last 90 on the 10-year. The 10-year and 30-year spread continues to improve, which continues to support a lower 30-year fixed rate. If we were at last year's spread, we'd be much higher on this number. So that's good news, and hopefully it gets back to normal. We're still above normal levels on that 10-year, 30-year spread. We started the first Monday of the year at 6.19, which was a tick lower than the first reading of the year on January 2nd, 6.19 on the 30-year fixed mortgage number. Okay. CME, FedWatch, and Poly Market both showing no signs of a Fed cut on January 27th as we get closer to that. We're basically 3 weeks out from the next Fed meeting. Some could change between now and then, and we'll keep our eyes on all the data right here on the hot sheet each and every single Monday through Friday, live at 9:30 East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. If you want to get the data from, that we share each and every single day, we've got our new 2026 classroom up and posted. So the 2025 is still there, so you can go and find old slides and data points, and obviously our hot sheet show notes, how we bake the cake. All of it's available inside of the hot sheet classroom on School for BAMX members, as well as the Quarter 1 call challenge. If you want built-in accountability on taking the action necessary in this season to do the work, we've got a call challenge. We're starting off with a webinar tomorrow introducing it, and then the call challenge will start Monday. So BAMX members, you've got the classroom here to frame out the call challenge, keep you on path for the next 4 weeks. If you're interested in that, join the free webinar tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, and noon on the West Coast. Okay. All right, there you go. That's your hot sheet here for today. There'll be a Real Word pod up later here on the main channel. Appreciate all of you. Have a great Tuesday. Good luck today. We'll see you back either in the Real Word comments later today or back here tomorrow, 9:30 on the East, 6:30 on the West. You know the deal in between. Until then, toodaloo.